This is a primetime news bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV, also available across Europe on avian television. In this edition, hospitals and pharmacies carry through threat to deny service to national health insurance subscribers over the NHI's indebtedness to service providers. World Health Organization convenes meeting in Accra of ECOWAS health ministers to deliberate on ways to halt further spread of Ebola. Minority demands Parliamentary Committee of Inquiry to investigate Black Stars' disappointing outing at FIFA World Cup in Brazil and related matters. The Ghana Football Association has meanwhile been explaining what happened in Brazil. And Upper East education authorities worry about falling standards as a result of ban on riding motorbikes in Baku. We have more sports, business, showbiz and international news coming up in the next 60 minutes. Stay tuned.
News at 8 with Israel Live.
Hospitals and pharmacies owed monies by the National Health Insurance Authority are carrying through a threat to turn away NHI subscribers if government fails to settle its indebtedness to them. The Christian Health Association of Ghana had announced its 183 mission hospitals will deny service to patients who show up with NHIS cards unless they're prepared to pay cash. Labour firms Erastus Zaradonko witnessed one such incident at the STA hospital at Kwaraso in the Ashanti region.
Almost say, wow, with the insurance, buy be a pacofi, then you almost a common woman. Do you want to use a bird just get a moment?
The mission hospitals together provide 42% of the country's health care needs. In a related development, Health Insurance Service Providers Association of Ghana has also joined the action by CHAG over the indebtedness of the NHI. Its Director of Operations and Communications, Anthony Ameka, insists they will continue to withhold services to NHI subscribers until their claims of up to 7 months are paid.
As I speak to you, CHAG have started. CHAG institutions are monitoring events. They are not accepting NHI cards at the various facilities. For the private sector, we started from Upper East. It's ongoing. They are also not accepting the NHI cards. Patients with NHI cards to these institutions or region must pay cash.
Anthony Ameka asserted government is taking private healthcare providers for granted.
In some of the regions, for instance, part of Upper East, Northern and Ashanti region, they've not been paid between 7 to 8 months. Some of the facilities too, they've not been paid the January, February and March 2014.
NHI's authorities have blamed the delay in settling service providers on fraudulent claims. Anthony Ameka has, however, challenged the claim.
What we are saying is that, one, they should immediately release our January, February, March unpaid claims to all the facilities. Then we'll go back to the who accept the National Health Insurance cards at the various facilities. Two, we want the Minister of Health to immediately establish the adjudication committee as required by the National Health Insurance Act 852, Section 106. A platform where both parties, the Health Insurance Authority, the service providers, and the client can petition the committee for speedily resolution of disputes.
The National Health Insurance Authority is yet to react.
Elsewhere, former Director General of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation has suggested senior citizens be given some special consideration in the provision of health care under the National Health Insurance Authority. David Anaglate, who was speaking on behalf of his colleague senior citizens at a state luncheon to commemorate Republic Day, complained having to wait for long periods in queues was one of their major problems with the scheme. He, however, commended the scheme and its support to the elderly.
The National Health Insurance Scheme has been plagued with a myriad of problems, especially its failure to promptly reimburse service providers who have provided health care to its subscribers. Case in point is the decision by the Christian Health Association of Ghana to deny services to NHIS card holders. Subscribers have also consistently complained about other challenges. The former GBC Director General, however, downplayed them, describing most of them as untrue.
Don't listen to people who talk and say that if you're on national health insurance, you only get paracetamol. It is not true. I go to hospital free of charge and I get expensive drugs for my hypertension, for my waist pain, and for my malaria and so on. Every year we go free of charge to renew our membership. That is one aspect of life in Ghana which we should be thankful to God for.
He appealed rather that provision of such services should come with consideration for the elderly.
I wish on your behalf to plead with government to encourage the hospitals as well as the banks to give us some priority as senior citizens. I have to go and form a line with people, young people who are only 20 years, and I have to stand in the line where fortunately they provide chairs. You sit and you'll be doing what in Ebe we call technique. Just sitting from here. Health institutions can institute a separate queue for us. We don't want to jump over everybody, but if you do a separate queue for the older citizens, I'm sure that will solve that problem for us.
Although President Mahama did not respond directly to the issue, he urged institutions to treat the aged with respect as they deserve such.
I fully support your suggestion that more of an effort should be made in all sectors of our society to utilize the wisdom of their years and experiences. I also strongly echo the appeal to our institutions to prioritize a place for senior citizens in queues when they have to receive goods and services. It is a courtesy that is well earned and well deserved, a basic courtesy and respect that should be recognized and observed by us all.
The NHIA has come under intense pressure as it continues to grapple with payment of huge debts it owes service providers. The authority, as at Wednesday morning, maintained negotiations are still ongoing with the service providers about their decision to turn away subscribers. Kifti Andwapia, Joy News, Accra.
Meanwhile, Health Minister Sherry Ayiti, in consultation with stakeholders, has approved a revised NHI's medicines list. The annual review is to ensure the prices of medicines on the list reflect market trends. The effective date for implementation is July 1, 2014. The three medicines not on the previous list of 522 are artesunate injection 30 milligrams, which has been introduced to cater for pediatric doses and prevent wastage after reconstitution. Cholera replacement fluid 1 liter has also been added because it is cost-effective and more readily available than the 500 milliliter bottle. The other is ciprofloxacin and tinidazole tablet, which has been added because the combined formulation is easier to administer than taking them separately. The review reflects an average of 37% upward adjustment of medicine prices in line with the current price changes. And we're staying with health, where an emergency crisis meeting of ministers of health of 11 countries and partners of the World Health Organization has opened in Accra to discuss the best ways to halt the further spread of the Ebola virus, especially in West Africa, where it has already claimed hundreds of lives. The meeting will also look at how to tackle the crisis collectively, as well as develop a comprehensive inter-country operational response plan.
More than 400 people have died in what has now become the worst Ebola outbreak in history. Though most of the deaths have been in Guinea, there has been an increasing number of cases in Liberia and Sierra Leone. Health ministers from the three affected countries and officials from neighboring Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Guinea-Bissau and Senegal, as well as Uganda, DR Congo, Gambia and Ghana, are taking part in the meeting, with a number of them said to be at risk from Ebola. According to the World Health Organization, the sharp increase in the death toll in the last few weeks makes intervention critical.
Following our assessment of the ongoing epidemic, we realize the need to put more emphasis on active disease surveillance, laboratory capacity, infection control, social mobilization and communication, and management of logistics and finance.
I'm confident that the outcome of this meeting will lead to the adoption of a strategy for accelerated response to contain the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. This is a matter of concern to all of us, governments, partners, and communities, and we should act together to overcome it. I thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Chief Medical Officer of Liberia, Dr. Benes Dam, says one of the key reasons for the continuing spread is the fear and denial around the illness.
Well, for us in Liberia, currently there is a national task force. There are technical committees formed. We have people who are doing contact tracing, case finding, surveillance. We've established a laboratory to diagnose the disease quickly. We've established case management centers. Most importantly, we are doing social mobilization seriously, especially at the interpersonal level. We are also training health workers and psychosocial support. If we can actually work together to address the issues, especially within countries and across the borders, those porous borders, we will make headways.
Ghana's outgoing Minister of Health, Sheriaiti, was hopeful the meeting will yield the desired result.
We are doing a lot of public health education, trying to educate them to avoid eating or coming into contact with certain things, like bats, monkeys, and also to keep, hygienic, sanitary conditions around themselves and the environment. We want to share scientific knowledge, to use the best scientific practices to help our three sister countries, so that we can help them, overcome the outbreak, for the rest of the sub-region to be safe, and also to see how we can raise resources to support them.
Matilda Vomagan for Joy News, Accra.
We're taking a break. We have more stories coming up. Stay tuned. The minority is demanding a parliamentary committee of inquiry to investigate the Black Stars' disappointing outing at the ongoing FIFA World Cup in Brazil and related matters. Apart from the first round exit, reports about gross player indiscipline and the air freighting of $3 million to pay the Black Stars players have made the country the subjects of international ridicule. Ranking member for the Parliamentary Select Committee on Youth, Sport and Culture, Isaac Kwame Siama, at a news conference on Wednesday, called out the then Minister for Youth and Sport and his deputy for running down the country's image.
According to the Minority Caucus, Ghana's successful hosting and organization of international events attests to the experience and quality human resource available to ensure this year's participation in the World Cup was successful. Rather, he says, the minister and his deputy only brought shame. He questioned the decision to fly $3 million aboard a chartered flight to Brazil to pay the Black Stars, even though international laws on money laundering frowns on that.
Does it mean that government and the officials are ignorant or mere abusers of the law? Or did they understand the repercussions thereof? Or was it why, or that they are doing all this while, that all this while they just carry money anywhere? No wonder there is pervasive corruption in this country. This is a complete embarrassment to the country and Africa. This is scandalous and has ruined the hard and good reputation of this country across the world. At the time when the nation is in crisis and our international reserves and foreign balances are fast depleting, and the Bank of Ghana is making strenuous efforts to stabilize the Ghana city, it is reckless to cause footballers to hold the nation to ransom. The Bank of Ghana had issued directives to businessmen and women about the use of hard currency. The airlifting of the $3 million in a charter flight to footballers in Brazil by same government, which called the issuance of those directives amounts to a disregard to the directives and the laws that had been issued to all Ghanaians, including footballers, lawyers, doctors, industrialists, traders, judges, parliamentarians, farmers, etc.
Decided to carry all this money shamefully to Brazil, such that Stephen Gerrard is now saying that the pride of a nation and passion of a nation and commitment can be bought with $3 million carried by a private jet. We are being ridiculed around the world. Everybody is insulting us. Everybody is ridiculing, insulting us. Even Bangladeshi journalists are insulting us. People, Somalia, everybody. I have friends who are MPs from Somalia, they're insulting us. Why?
For the minority, the country's woeful showing has once again exposed the quality of President John Mahama's leadership qualities, adding that the two ministers involved should have been asked to step aside and not reassigned.
It must be pointed out that, per the statute of the FIFA, the president has no locus or capacity whatsoever to order or direct the FA to set up any committee of inquiry. Notwithstanding, the conviction of many people is that a lot of the rot emanated from the ministry, especially in the matter of the appearance fees and government sponsorship to supporters. In the event, if the president wants a potent committee to delve into the pertinent issues, what is required is a ministerial committee of inquiry. For after all, the promise came from the president through the ministry. Beyond that, how long should Ghanaians trust this government with committees of inquiry, as there are committees here, committees there, and committees everywhere which have yielded no benefits to Ghanaians?
We are asking them to assume other national responsibilities, shipping incompetence to other areas of our national endeavor. If they are toxic, we want them to affect those areas with their toxicity.
Ashanti. Go to Ashanti.
It's incomprehensible. You recognize that they are incompetent. You recognize that they are incompetent, but let them come and negatively affect other areas, including the office of the president. What kind of reasoning is this?
He said invitations by the Select Committee on Youth and Sports and Culture to the then Minister Elvis Afriye Ankara to appear before the committee to answer questions on 3 different occasions were ignored. The Minority Caucus also wants to know how many officials government sponsored to Brazil, how many public servants used state funds, why the government failed to pay the controversial appearance fee before the team's departure as promised, and how much government released for accommodation for each supporter. Isaac Siama says he has also filed a motion on the matter.
I call on Parliament to, as a matter of urgency, come together, be on the side of the rights of Ghanaians, and institute a parliamentary committee of inquiry to look into the above issues raised and other factors that marred our preparation and participation in Brazil 2014. We want to inform Ghanaians that a motion has been filed already to this effect. Parliament, as a body charged with ensuring accountability, should act expeditiously on this very important national issue.
The minority has also indicated they will follow with keen interest how the matter will be handled. Manolante, reporting for Joy News.
Now, sports analyst Nana Ajameng says the president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi, was evasive with questions pertaining to the questions that were asked at Wednesday's news conference on the Brazil debacle. He was speaking on today's big story, where he added his voice to calls for the setting up of a committee of inquiry to look into the various issues. Now, we'll be coming back to this story in a bit. In fact, to the news conference itself and the fallouts of the news conference. But in other news, on the bulletin, right, we'll take Nana Kwesi Ajameng's reactions to the news conference now.
Satisfied with the principle that they've availed themselves to some form of questioning, because to a certain extent that's what accountability is all about. But as to the answers that have been given, I wouldn't say I'm satisfied at all. Well, I think there's got to be some form of inquiry, isn't there? Because, you know, on the one hand, we read stories that are written in press overseas about what the players are saying actually took place. And then on the other hand, we've got a press conference here in Ghana, and none of the players are here for us to ask them any question. None of the players are here to say whatever it is that actually happened. So we're getting stories from one side and then getting stories on the other, and then you can't really tell which one is the true story.
Now on to the main story itself. The coach of the senior national football team, Kwesi Appiah, has rejected calls on him to resign over the Black Stars' disastrous showing at the World Cup in Brazil. Rather, he said he had built a team of young and confident players who hold a lot of promise and would want to shepherd them. He, along with the president of the Ghana Football Association, have been explaining circumstances surrounding the worst ever outing of the team at the World Cup. Jonathan Asare has more.
Coach Kwesi Appiah declined to comment on the behavior of Suleiman Tari and Schalke striker Kevin Prince Boateng, who have been cited as being mainly responsible for the gross acts of indiscipline in the team's camp.
On Sulei's issue, I wouldn't like to comment on it for now because it's on suspension, and we will leave it.
The FA president, Kwesi Nyantakyi, also explained circumstances necessitating the air freighting of hard cash to the team in Brazil, adding that lessons have been learned.
In 2006, the same practice was adopted. Cash was carried from Ghana to Germany and paid to players. In 2010, the same practice was adopted. Cash was picked from Ghana to South Africa and paid to players. That is the practice. The issue now is whether that practice is sustainable or not. And that is why the executive committee has taken the position that as part of the conditions for invitation to the Black Stars in future, we have to sign contracts with players.
He rejected suggestions that the delegation had carried along to Brazil non-essential members only to swell up the numbers. He also justified the payment of appearance fees and bonuses to the FA members.
The GFA management made a proposal to the then government, and the proposal was that government should review the traditional persons who were remunerated in football, and these were the players and the technical team. We made a case that management also played a role, and that when the team didn't do well, management could be blamed for it. Some of you are asking for Kwesi Nyantakyi to resign because the team has failed, and yet Kwesi Nyantakyi doesn't take a bonus. So wherein lies the justification? So in order to evenly spread the burden and the benefits, we recommended that management should be given a certain sum of money which we call honorarium. It is not a bonus. If a player, for instance, earned $5,000, we recommended that the entire spectrum of people who constitute the management, in our case about 10 to 15 people, not just the management committee, but even people who work in the federation, that money is given to people like 10,000 and then it's given to them. The rationale is that people who superintend over or supervise payments of huge sums of money to players, may be inclined to thinking about fraudulent ways of also making money if they do not receive any form of remuneration. And this concept or proposal was accepted by government.
Kwesi Nyantakyi also denied a claim by Kevin Prince Boateng in interviews that the players were made to struggle in economy class, while he, the FA president, enjoyed business class with his wife. He also maintained, contrary to claims that they had squandered state funds, their expenses would all be paid for by FIFA, even though government had to bear some of it in advance.
There'll be more on the Brazil 2014 fiasco coming up on the sports segment with George Addo Jr. But two passengers are said to have been trapped in their vehicles Tuesday morning after their car collided with a truck. The accident, which occurred at the Swami Runabout in Kumasi, claimed no lives but left several people injured. The trapped and injured passengers have since been rescued by security agencies and sent to hospital for treatment. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin has more.
Eyewitnesses say an articulated truck with registration number AS5530 had broken down in the middle of the runabout, creating vehicular traffic. The Road Safety Commission was called in to tow the truck. In the process, the chain got disjointed. The articulated truck lost control, ran into the cargo truck, which overturned, smashing into other vehicles in the process.
Fitafo oh my god so on meye enti fitafo no buy no omo e ba beye enti omo gusu e kan no mse da bi omo beto no na driver no so omo to kan de ono won tena ayinim kanim ana omo kasa wisu omo of course e de yeden eto no enti omo to no kan be duru sura no ana ayino etiye enti etiye na e ba chire na e be say on focus kamako 7
na e friends e people no so na say 10 minutes time na friend me enti o friend me drew a small problem na e babe ye was na police for no buy e na o maka toyin ka no enti o mo buy no o mo say o mo allowed ye ma yenye ejuma na me so me catch o mo say problem na e wo no e just a mini problem o mo ma yenya asa na ka na akọ o mo so no this o ma to ka no enti o mo na ye misunderstanding. So what we have to do, omo ya ban, ye na omo ni entimi ka bibia. So omo say mo muto ka no. Ana muto ka no enti. Omo to ka during the towing ka no, ana chain no, etie, ana kan sign ban it.
8 vehicles, including the articulated truck and cargo vehicles, were included in the accident. Personnel at the Ashanti Regional Motor Traffic and Transport Department had to divert vehicles onto one stretch of the runabout to reduce vehicular traffic. A report by Ashanti Regional correspondent Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin.
We'll take a break. We have business coming up. Stay tuned.
Good evening. It's time for business with me, Matilda Nyakwa Kweku. An Accra Fast Track Court has thrown out a writ seeking to stop the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors from placing an injunction on management of BOST facilities by Nigerian firm TSL Logistics. Now, according to Justice L.L. Mensah, the writ by BOST lacks merit. He, however, said Friday, July 4, to give a final ruling on the substantive case in which the chamber wants BOST's contract with TSL to be terminated. The bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST earlier this year contracted the Nigerian firm to manage its Accra Plain Depot on a pilot basis. This, however, did not go down well with the bulk oil distributors, who say the contract is against the country's public procurement law. But BOST has maintained that the deal was necessary to redeem the company from its debts. President John Dramani Mahama has challenged players in the real estate industry to explore the use of local materials to make houses more affordable. The president, at an interaction with key players at the Flagstaff House, assured them government is willing to consider a waiver of some of the taxes the sector is having to pay.
If you look at the yield on some tax, it's probably not worth the the border in imposing it. Sometimes you have nuisance taxes, and so let's see if really it is contributing to, turning around the deficit, and if it isn't, maybe these are some of the things that we can give up.
The Q&A session between key players in the mortgage industry and the president at the Flagstaff House was to address bottlenecks and reduce the nation's worsening housing deficit. Some of these difficulties, according to the players, include high taxes, land acquisition, high interest rates and mortgage financing. Among their suggestions were increased government interventions, including relocation of ministries from the capital.
The VAT on the real estate, that has killed 50% of the industry. A basic two-bedroom that costs about 60,000, 70,000 Ghana cedis. Number one, the Ghanaian cannot afford it. Two, the income is so low. Then number three, we have added additional 17.5% on it. I think that is killing the industry. At this moment, we have a serious deficit and we need some serious government intervention. If we can take Ministry of Education alone, outside of Accra, I think that is about 500,000 customers that can, thank you very much.
The president urged them not to concentrate their development in Accra, but consider other parts of the country, especially areas where government intends to commercialize.
We could work with you guys. There's 30,000 acres there. Government needs about 5,000 acres for the new airport. And so there's like 25,000 acres, which we could develop into a new city. We call it the airport city. Now, I don't see government borrowing money to come and build a new city or anything. It's the private sector that must lead the process. And so if in a PPP, us and you, we say, look, okay, government has acquired this land. We do the title. We're using acquisition to take it. But then you become the drivers of bringing the investment in terms of helping to raise the investment to do the roads, to put in the service lines, bring in power, water, and everything, And so we shouldn't look at only the urban elite, but we should also look at people, outside the urban centers or semi-urban centers who also have a need for housing.
He indicated the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly is considering a housing initiative which is being constructed using local materials, saying government intends to explore it further due to its affordability. President Mahama requested that the suggestions be compiled for him for further deliberations and execution. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Still in business, the Ghana Revenue Authority says the suspension of the VAT on financial services is to give them more time to educate stakeholders on it while affording the authority room for thorough evaluation of the policy. Although the policy is indefinitely suspended, the GRA insists it will be implemented however long it takes.
The Acting Deputy Commissioner for Communication and Public Affairs of the GRA, Kwesi Opon-Damwo, explained that even though the policy was researched into before its announcement, there was the need to address the teething problems accompanying its implementation.
From my evaluation, not all the banks are ready enough to implement. They need to configure their systems, and some of them are not ready. Again, there's been a lot of public outcry, but and I should say a lot of misconceptions. People explain in the way that they understand, and some of the explanations given are not what the law seeks to do. So, even though we've done some explanation and public education, we believe that we still need some time to bring the public on board and do more sensitization. So after our assessment and evaluation of the whole thing, we thought it is necessary to defer the implementation of the VAT on financial services for now.
Having suspended the VAT on financial services twice already, withdrawing the policy again presents the GRA as inconsistent. But the authority says avoiding timelines this time will resolve all credibility matters.
Previously, when we deferred, we gave definite dates. We thought we would be able to do all that is necessary before that date. But we've now seen that, yes, we need to do more. So we decided that, okay, let's put it on hold, do whatever that we need to do, and then when we think by our evaluation and assessment that we are ready, then we bring it back and then implement the law. Because we do not want to set a date again, and maybe at that time too, we'll have to say another thing. The VAT on financial services still remain on our statutes. We'll do all that is necessary to get it implemented. But then we are not going to take the tax from ourselves. The public need to understand.
Kwesi Opondamwa maintained the policy was still undergoing some review to address the numerous concerns of the public. Abigail Adomakwenchi for Joy News.
The prices of food items may soar further if government does not release fertilizer subsidies for this farming season. The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana says there has been almost 100% increase in fertilizer prices since the season started in April. The association is worried government silence on the situation may imply an attempt to scrap the subsidy policy. The Peasant Farmers Association says this would spell doom for the agric sector if it should happen. That's all for business.
The ban on the riding of motorbikes has been blamed for the falling educational standards in the Upper East region town of Baku. According to the Educational Directorate, most teachers, as a result, are unable to go to their schools, which are mainly out of town. The authorities point to the pass rate at the basic education certificate examinations, which they say has dropped from 79% in 2007 to 34% in 2013. Justice Bedu has been to the town and reports.
Motorbikes are the main mode of transport, especially in Ghana's savannah zone. But it also means that for towns such as Boko, it's also used by persons with criminal intent, especially hit-and-run attacks in a town that has seen decades of tribal unrest. Following renewed clashes in 2010, authorities there imposed a ban on the riding of motorbicycles. That ban has remained in place for 3 years now, with implications for education, among others.
That would have been very serious. But the emphasis I'm putting is that I'm not supporting the issue that the ban should not be lifted. I'm not saying it shouldn't be lifted. But I'm making a comparative analysis and think that if the security expert said today it should be lifted, fine. But if they think if we lift it, we'll go back to the dark days, then it's better we stay now.
The ban has since been eased for women. Though the restriction on the riding of motorbikes has been hailed as the reason why Baku is now enjoying relative peace, the impact on economic activity in the area is enormous. Musa Tahiru is one of the many teachers here who are paying the high price for the ban. He was posted to the Boko DC primary school last year.
It doesn't mean that what your opinion is always finance. You have to listen to your colleagues.
My place to this place, when I get, I will leave house around 6:30. By the time I get here, around 8. When I come, I become tired. I can't teach. I have to sleep for about 2 or 3 hours before I'll get energy to continue. So gradually, this is affecting my performance here. I'm not even happy because I'm supposed to teach, I was born as a teacher. I was not made as a teacher. But when I come and I realize that things are not going well, within myself, I'm not comfortable.
From Baku, he will have to ride a distance of 12 kilometers to and from the school. On a motorbike, he could do the trip in 15 minutes, but on a human-powered bicycle, that will take an hour.
We have people riding the motorbikes, especially men outskirts. When you are caught, 1, they will seize your motorbike. 2, you'll be beaten severely and you sent to the police station. Sometimes they will send you to court. And it will be worse if you are educated. When the militant happens to know that you are educated and you flout the law and you are caught, yours is even worse. So some of us, we don't try at all.
Meanwhile, the people in this town are worried the decline in economic fortunes resulting from the ban may eventually erode the progress made in the peace process. Justice Bedu, Joy News, Baku.
We begin sports tonight about news, certainly about the Black Stars, and Coach Kwesi Appiah will continue on his role as manager of the senior national football team and is expected to lead the Black Stars in qualifying for the 2015 African Cup of Nations in Morocco. FA President Kwesi Nyantakyi confirmed this at a press conference this evening after a crucial meeting with the FA Executive Committee to assess the performance of the technical team.
The Executive Committee expressed its confidence in the continuity in office of the head coach, and so we'll finalize discussions on new terms for his further engagement. We also asked the head coach to review the current squad and retain players only on the basis of competence, commitment, and discipline. The coach was further encouraged to consider young additions to the team. Our discussions of the World Cup will not be complete without a glance into the future. From September 2014, Ghana will be playing qualifying matches for the African Cup of Nations. We are going to redirect our attention and focus towards first qualifying and, most importantly, ensuring that we win the African Cup of Nations in Morocco.
Certainly keep an eye on what happens with Kwesi Appiah in that job, though. Now, Kevin Prince Boateng's international career with Ghana has been thrown into serious doubt after Kwesi Appiah revealed he is no longer going to be a part of his future plans. Kevin has been suspended indefinitely after he clashed with Appiah during the failed 2014 World Cup campaign in Brazil. Coach Appiah made the startling revelation at the press conference this evening.
Talking about Kevin Boateng, whether I'll bring him back, I believe that, when you're building a team, it's important that, you make sure there's discipline in the team. Sometimes managing egos is always difficult, and it's how you manage it, But when it becomes constant and then it will be a threat to the whole team, then you look at it differently. And personally, for now, I don't think it will be part of my plans. I'm concentrating on those who are disciplined, who want to kill themselves for the nation. Yeah.
All right, so that's the story for Kevin Prince Boateng. Now to turn into tennis and talk about the ongoing Wimbledon, and defending champion Andy Murray has been beaten 6-1, 7-6, 6-2 by Bulgarian 11th seed Grigor Dimitrov in the quarterfinals. Roger Federer and top seed Novak Djokovic both had to fight back to claim their place in the semi-finals.
All right, so we're going to talk a bit more about the FA news conference on the disappointing outing of the Black Stars at the Brazil 2014. Now, two things that have come up. One of them has to do with the stewardship of the president of the FA, Kwesi Nyantakyi. There's increasing pressure on him to go. He seemed to have rebuffed them, but I'm not sure that'll be the end of the story.
Now, it certainly might not be the end of the story. The crucial thing is take him away. You can sack him, out of the job. He was elected, so we'll have to still go back to Congress. That's point one. The real point is, I think he should not still be the head of the Black Stars Management Committee, because in 2006 and of course 2010 we had Fred Papel in there. Then Fred Papel was reporting to Kwesi Nyantakyi, but now you have Kwesi Nyantakyi as the head of the management committee. It looks more like he's reporting to himself. Issues about accountability and probity not really going on, so it's difficult for us now to read between the lines. He said today there's going to be a review of the management committee, the composition, but he didn't say he was going to step down. It looks like he's still going to be the head of the management committee, and that's not certainly good for us. We need to get that out, and he must stay as the boss, and people need to report to him so we can hold people liable.
Now, there's also the bit about Coach Kwesi Appiah, and there are those who are saying that he probably have lost. He couldn't do the job, they think, but they think that he lost it at that point where, he cried in camp?
He didn't convince anybody. On all the flaws, 1, tactically, he didn't convince anyone. The game against USA, absolutely shambolic, 1. 2, was he able to control the dressing room? I think he lost it. Never mind, there were issues about appearance fees and all. He lost it, he cried, very difficult for him, gets onto the pitch, and even Kevin Prince Boateng and the likes, what they're saying, we don't even know how true that is. I just don't think he got all of this thing, unless he's telling us that he's going to improve, you know, in 2015 when we go to Morocco. But he has a lot of improving to do then, because tactically, we're still coming up to terms to understand what.
But I tend to agree with those who say that he should be giving a chance, and that probably his capacity.
We're giving him a chance. I think we're giving him a chance. We saw him in the African Cup of Nations 2012, giving him the World Cup. What are we seeing?
Capacity building.
Okay, well, then that's the thing. If we're going to do that, that's fine. I have nothing against Kwesi Appiah, but I want to see him improve and improve, because in 2012, he made some mistakes we talked about, made those same mistakes, and still standing by one of those Kojo Samoa issues out of there. So for me, I think that, he's going to be in charge, but we want to see him improve. That's crucial. And if he doesn't, they're going to step
But the debate is going, I'm sure, going to continue.
It's not going to stop now. It's going to continue. Yeah. And that'll be all for sports. As you're joining us with some more certainly.